köszönhetjük nagy szeretettel Márka Zsuzsát, aki az előadását meg fogja tartani. Csak azért nézek Zsuzsára, mert remélem, hogy az információ eljutott Zsuzsához is, hogy ő fog most következni. A Columbia Egyetem asztrofizikai laboratóriumának tudósát, és az előadásának címét pedig szeretném felolvasni, bár mindenki ezért jött. Tények és tévhitek. A mesterséges intelligencia szerepe a közösségi tudomány helyi szintű oktatásában. Zsuzsa, parancsolj!
Köszönöm szépen, and I'm going to speak in English if you don't mind, and I hope it's going to be followable for everybody. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, thank you very much. So I'm an astrophysicist. This is the thing, right? I'm an astrophysicist at Columbia University, also affiliated with the Data Science Institute, and I work on, obviously, machine learning and artificial intelligence as part of my research, but I am also building instruments and hardware for research, so I am immensely involved with the instrument which is collecting data. And I had a chance for a year to work with citizen scientists as part of an open hardware association team. I had a fellowship with them, and we worked on putting together guidelines to make open science and specifically open hardware more accessible, and actually training the academics how to do that. So that sort of inspired my talk here, since I'm a hardcore scientist, but at the same time I'm interested in citizen science and certainly connection to other fields beyond astrophysics. So there will be a few terminologies I will use in this presentation, and I asked AI. I went online and asked, so what are these terms which I am using all the time? Obviously, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Machine learning is actually a subset of artificial intelligence that uses given algorithms to train data, so you will hear about data training. But AI is a lot more than machine learning, and there are several ways of defining it, and I think most of you have some ideas, and I'm not sure I fully agree with the AI terminology for that. But there is citizen science and open science I would like to talk about. So citizen science is research conducted with participation from the general public, and this can be amateurs or professionals from another field who decide to use data which they didn't collect and just have fun with it, and they are participating in science. Okay, citizen scientists participate in science, sometimes alone, sometimes together with professional scientists. So this participation is important. Open science itself is making scientific research, which includes data and software and hardware, actually, public. We often forget about hardware. And the open science associations, just like the hardware association I work with, they promote transparency and collaboration and reproducibility, for example, of collected data or scientific results. This is really important, okay? All right, so when I started to work with OSHWA, this hardware association, Open Science Hardware Association, we had this kind of feeling that open science moves slowly in academia, and we asked the question why. I actually did a lot of surveys in our field, a specific field of astrophysics. I asked people working in big collaborations that if they are making open science, open data, or open hardware, who is their target audience? And I think the sizes of those target audiences, those circles, represents the number of answers I got. So when a scientist in academia thinks that the open science they are creating are mostly for other scientists and engineers, we know there's a problem, because they are not made accessible for the general public. Open science is really accessible when really open to the public when they are created on an excessive way. So there are open science practices and guidelines, and you can find many of them, and most of them are actually pretty good. They can be followed, but they are not being followed. What's the reason for that? Most science things, they lose a competitive edge by giving away their, for example, their data rights. It's a competitive field, science, winner takes all. There's only one Nobel Prize, or maybe you can give it to 3 people, but you know what I mean. We need to convince the scientists to actually invest their time, and the guidelines help, okay? And those who are interested in creating, like making their data public, they should read these guidelines because accessibility is a key point. So there are many places, and I am showing US-based places for finding open science projects. So one is Zooniverse, which is on the bottom. It has a lot of space projects, so I'm more familiar with it. But I want to show you guys the picture on the right is Concord Tege Miklós, who is actually responsible that amateur astronomy, well, exists in Hungary. Certainly he organized people watching meteoroids. That was a long time ago, but most science was amateur science in the past. It wasn't OTCA funded or NSF funded, okay? So you can find interesting science projects, for example, at Oshawa website as well, which I show. But I also show one interesting, I call that guy over there on the left, his name is Szász Pisti. He's from Hungary, and I am sure he doesn't think he's a scientist or a citizen scientist. But I know he goes online, who finds interesting projects, and he goes to his garage and he replicates them and he alters them. The only thing what's missing is maybe he could put it back online, but he certainly never had the training for that. But we have lots of smart people everywhere, and he's in a small city in Nyíregyhalay. So we have these people, we need to find them, we need to get them involved. And definitely, we need to encourage them to keep going, because they don't know what they are doing is so awesome, okay? And yeah, he made at least like 10, 15, Sabine probably knows all of them, fantastic creations, just because he got some information online and used open science. Yeah, because he can do not 100 but 120 things or more. Yeah. Okay, so guidelines are important, and I am actually putting up here my guidelines which I prepared for Oshawa, and including mentoring, how you mentor as an academic the students to actually have an open science mindset. So you have to get going from the beginning. It needs to be part of the education, even at the undergraduate level. If you start a research project, you need to think about that this will be open at one point. So it gets being prepared, developed, and documented on a way as the project goes, that it will be easy to make public. You know, with the revisions, the contrasts, there are lots of tools for that. If you're working with software, you know about GitHub. Actually, it can be even used for hardware. So that's totally great. We created also a roadmap on how to create open source hardware. And you know, for software and data, not everything is the same, but I would like to make sure that beyond that you're involving and adopting open source practicing, you're also making tools, using tools when you're making your hardware, when you're creating your software, which are not behind a paywall. One of the big problems for open science, that people just put things out there online and assume people will find it. Well, findability is important, but they also assume they will download it and they get to use it. Sometimes it's not written in a way that it's accessible, but sometimes the accessibility is that simple. You don't have $3,000 to pay for a specific engineering software. And this is really important. And that's same for every type of data management software. There are many of them which cost money. If you want to have open science to proliferate, you need to use, even though sometimes it's not as easy to use, but you need to use open source type of softwares and tools. Okay. All right, so what is AI? I am going to give you guys 5 facts and fallacies about AI and education and open source science. So if you see on the right side, the way AI is practiced is very similar to that. You do something with that data and you look at the result. Oh, the accuracy of this machine learning code is just 56%. I don't like it. So just stir the pie until they start looking right. This is the general way. It's very often practiced. I mean, I'm not saying there is no feedback and so on, but this gets done. This was definitely a norm approximately 6 to 8 years ago. And it's still being done certainly by most beginners. That's the way you start. Okay, so is AI part of the open science ecosystem? Well, there's a fact that AI is everywhere and we all contribute to it with data. But there's the misconception that we are all doing citizen science. No, I don't think so. We are not doing citizen science. It's not true. We generally, when you get your app, you open your phone, open your laptop, you hit that cookies button, right? And your data is getting collected, or maybe you don't hit it, you don't even know what you're doing. You are certainly contributing to with data to some AI. But that data is not accessible to you. You don't even know what type of data you provided. And certainly what's behind the data and how it's being used, that's usually is not public. Most trained models are not public. So there is an opportunity for localities, for people who want to be involved in open science and in citizen science to participate with contributing data. There are lots of altruistic projects and they are envisioned as open source. You know, altruism is really, you want everybody to know about that you're doing something great because it's serving everybody, it's serving the public, right? It's often done by citizen scientists and they raise awareness and, you know, we would like to increase the technological and data literacy skills for all the participants and all this can bring economic impact. So participating in open science, even though, you know, and giving data, local data to AI at the end, due to local participation, will have an economic impact on the long run. So how does AI grow? That's my second question. So there is the fact that AI blossomed when storing and working with big data enabled. If you guys look at this year's Nobel Prizes, the 2 physics prizes are given actually for work on actually coming up with artificial neural network, which was done in the 1980s, and it didn't proliferate for a long time. The big data and certainly the GPUs, which enable to do very efficient calculations, is fairly new. It's fairly new. So that's the old way, but the chemistry prizes, the second part of the chemistry prizes, by solving a 50-year-old problem of protein folding, the AlphaFold, for which the 2 actually, I would call technologists, not chemists, got the Nobel Prize for, is from 2020, it's that recent. So the Nobel Prize Committee actually in one subject gave a prize for the original idea, and in the other subject is really for the technological, amazing technological involvement in a specific project. So that's the fact. We have big data, and the other problem is the misconception that by using AI, we enable its growth. It's not really true. Not every instance of AI use is beneficial with data. And on the right side, actually, when ChatGPT-4 came out, somebody sent me a message, hey, Zsuzsa, I told this given project to ChatGPT. I asked it to write a Python code. Do you think, is this good? And it was sort of an okay code. At first try, I mean, you had to make some changes, but it was okay. But sooner or later, you start thinking about, is this good that we start to use ChatGPT to help us with creating a code? The way it has been, you're writing a Python software and you got into a problem is actually you looked for a crowdsourced solution. There is this something called Stack Overflow. You can log in and you can put in a question, and everybody around the globe, because this is the way coding gets done for the last probably 10, maybe even 15 years, everybody on the globe could read it and contribute with an answer. And the submissions to Stack Overflow, which is used to train ChatGPT's algorithm to help you to write with coding, these submissions decreased. So imagine, are we going to be there that we are going to ask ChatGPT to write a poem for us? What word would that be? It's not going to be that better poem than human knowledge and human intuition. Okay? So there is an opportunity for citizen scientists that they can contribute to AI growth by collecting, curating, and providing local data. That knowledge, your expertise, your local input matters, and we cannot stop inputting data. Okay? It's an opportunity for AI growth from every locality and from every citizen scientist and from everybody who's interested to help with their expertise. And that expertise can be something like, let's imagine we have a project which asks to collect information about the local springs in this area around Kőszeg or Western Hungary. And when you're collecting data, maybe you are submitting some information on the location, let's say the exact GPS location of, let's say, Herman Forrás. It's one of the springs very close by. And who would know whether that location is correct? Maybe you train an algorithm, it sends you out some information, puts things on the map, and you see that the given local spring is put at the wrong place. That can happen, right? You can have AI training. You need the local expertise to tell whether you can trust the machine-generated result. You cannot always trust this input from you. So there is this misconception that if you have a trained model and it says it has 95% accuracy, that it's going to be correct. No, it's just a number. Every result needs to be checked. So this is really important that the ML, the AI does a computation for you. It's what it's supposed to give you an output. Some checks are needed, okay? And you are there with your local knowledge to enable AI growth and make the results trustable. So the fourth question, does AI think? I mean, this is one of those most often asked questions, and some people give different answers. So the fact is certainly that AI can store, sort, calculate, and even search for new data in a matter of no time, certainly in a matter of time that is impossible for humans. It's instantaneous, or feels instantaneous, it's not instantaneous. You can measure the speed, but can do tasks which you can no longer do. Does it make it human? This is not analogous to human thought. And at the moment, I don't think AI thinks, okay? I don't. So, AI performs these computations, as I said, and it takes a scientific problem, and it's going to give you some output that's in a manner of a number or a statistical probability and so on. But it's not capable of intuition what we humans have about a given problem. So what are the opportunities here? At the base level, the data determines whether AI will give a result that we intuitively feel familiar with. So we can tune these AI networks to serve a given purpose. And yes, there are issues, whether is there a bias here and so on. We can discuss that. But at the end, the result with the tuning was formed through knowledge from local solutions or asking the right questions locally. And any locality, just because they have a knowledge, let's say around the Kőszeg Springs or region, or from Hungary, or maybe a type of expertise of a subfield, they can contribute to AI growth with solutions which they would not get on any other way, because they wouldn't even be forming the question which we are asking from the AI the way we are asking. Actually, on the bottom left, we do have a picture from a paper we wrote with some data scientist colleagues at Columbia, and this is actually the road towards interpretable algorithms. We are really looking for that AI is no longer a black box. This is the newest way, interpretable AI. And we are forming the inner side of the algorithm, the neural network, on a way that the result is more interpretable. You can ask me about that if you want a bit later, but it's some science which I am really excited about. So the last is AI dangerous? Well, this is us. Everybody is worried about this doomsday scenario. I don't know whether I'm worried about the doomsday scenario. I think there are politicians to do the doomsday first, and then comes the machine. But at one point it can be the machine. So the fact is that there are concerted efforts to regulate AI use, and since it's regulation, it's not a local small solution. It's at least by country, by region, by the EU, or globally, most likely in like the doomsday scenario, global solution. But regulations are such that you can give rules, but they need to be followed. How to make sure the rule is followed is very, very, very difficult. So I don't find regulation an efficient long-term solution. And it's certainly not a trustable 100% solution. But there is an opportunity for small regions or countries, but certainly smaller entities, because education is usually in the hands of smaller entities, to educate the public on responsible use of AI and what is AI is good for, what is it good for. And this is a local approach. But don't believe that we need to only educate how to use AI. I strongly believe that the future of humanity it contains using big data. And it contains actually AI. It contains robotics. It contains things which think on a way we don't think. Okay? And we need to understand how to work at the base level, and this needs to be taught everywhere. So I prefer not to hear from anybody that, oh, I was never good in math and physics in high school. Okay? That's not an excuse. And it may be true, but don't say it. Don't say it, because you tell the next generation that it's okay not to be good or not to understand math and physics. And maybe it's okay to some extent, but you need to encourage the best understanding that an individual can achieve, which is obviously personal. I'm never going to be a basketball player, right? So we need to increase the math and data literacy skills at the basis level and start really working with the, not the undergraduate, not even the high school education. We need to work with the elementary school students, because we need strong foundations. And I do think US definitely is missing on this. I've seen a dumbing down of the mathematics and science curriculum. I'm not going to make a comment on Hungary, you guys can make, but I definitely see the US situation. So if we want to raise new inventors, we want to bring this field forward, we also need to teach them critical thinking and even skepticism, healthy skepticism, because AI outputs, you can never trust them, you always have to check. Healthy skepticism is important. Okay, and it's not because I know X or Y who told me X or something, and I know that, oh, this person tells me telltales often, so I am not going to trust them. AI will just give you a number. Okay, all right. So there is one more point of AI which I am quite worried about, and that's expressed in that cartoon. AI and robotics, which is enabled by AI now, will change the job market. It will change how we work, or who works, or does everybody work? How will people find purpose in their life? Because maybe some people think job is not purpose, but job can be awesome if you like it, what you are doing. I am certainly, being a scientist, I'm doing something which I love to do, so I feel like my job, in terms of my fulfillment of my life, is very important to joy what I can get on every day. So what are we gonna do? What will the people do if they no longer have the regular type of jobs? We really need to think about them. So we need to embrace local projects, and we need to elevate the value of human-facing activities, and then not just human-facing jobs, obviously. We need more teachers, I just said that, right? We would be happy to have more doctors, more nurses. These are human-facing. I don't think we need to have, maybe we can have robotic surgeries, but we don't need robotic nurses, okay? People need human interactions. So we stay humans by engaging with humans, and why AI is important, and we need to be putting local on the critical path of AI, because AI will not ask for it. This is important, but we also need to embrace our humanity and maybe include this kind of aspect in our ways of thinking about AI. And this is where I am ending. Thank you. Thank you, Ferry. Thank you, Jody. Thank you for iASK being here. And that building, the Synergy Campus, is an opportunity. And I think it's an opportunity for citizen science in this region as well, and I would love it being embraced as part of this locality and local citizen science in this region. Thank you so much.
Köszönöm szépen, hogy itt lehetek. Nekem nagy élmény New Yorkból hazajönni, és iASK az egy fantasztikus család, és köszönöm szépen Jodynak és Ferinek, hogy az életüket beletették ennek a családnak a megalkotásába. Szóval a Columbia Egyetemen tanítunk, és ez sok lehetőséget és sok dolgokba belelátást ad. A magyar nyelvű bevezető után angolul fogom folytatni, mivel vannak tolmácsok, ezért ez egy érdekes exercise lesz. Since Columbia is an Ivy League institution, above me they invented the laser, below my office they invented the basis of MRI, we gave presidents, world leaders visit us. Yeah? So every time they visit, or nearly every time, they ask me, so how do you force these people to work? So my presentation is an answer to this question. Yeah, my usual answer is, I don't understand your question, but let's see. You know, I'm fairly sure that many world leaders, contemporary world leaders, would have tried to ask that question from themselves in the context of Picasso, and would try to use, say, Gulag or competitive funding as leash to force Picasso to work. And perhaps after some work, they would have got this from Picasso. This is AI generated, by the way. I couldn't do it. But fortunately, the answer, freedom, was given to Picasso, and this was produced, what I like better. Maybe I'm biased. So what are the properties that keep universities like Columbia productive, innovative, inventive, creative, and free? So I will analyze some, not all, of these things. Yeah, inspired by Erkine's short stories, and they will be short stories. The first short story is coming from one of the greatest physicists in the United States, who really got a lot of money from the US government, Wilson. And when he was asking for the money, one of the military leaders asked him, okay, so we are spending a lot of money on your craziness. How will it defend our country? So his answer was the following: it has nothing to do directly with defending our country, except to make it worth defending. Yeah? So you think about this in the context of any nation. What are we proud as Hungarians? We are proud of our poetry, literatures, music, food. And that's true for, yes. And even our failures. I mean, all of our national holidays are failures in a sense, yeah? But we are not proud of what we are occupied with every day, yeah? I mean, I don't see anybody being as proud of that factory or power station as a painting by Csontváry, yeah? So there are controversies that embrace our life, and art and science are similar, yeah? They are beautiful. They are beautiful in different ways. But to me, searching for cosmic black holes is as beautiful as going into a museum enjoying a Munkácsi painting. Yeah? They are beautiful in different way, but our brain is sensitive to the same way. So the way I imagine a future of Kőszeg is very similar that I see former cities like Pasadena, where we spent a lot of time at Caltech, Cambridge, where my son is, or Heidelberg, Germany, Institute of Study in Princeton. These are small places. Even Columbia University on the left is a very small place owning part of Manhattan. Everybody lives in that little part of Manhattan, students and faculty. So intellectual centers do not have to be capitals, do not have to be big. Matter of fact, it's nice to be small, nice to have the place and time, like in Princeton, for Einstein to go into the woods or walk around, or for me to go to Central Park, so a car doesn't hit me when I'm thinking. So Kőszeg can be one of these. Many little colleges doing different things. I see fantastic opportunities in this, and I can't imagine a better place than Kőszeg to have. Yeah. So, what is the next step? What we have to embrace? Actually, I learned in Kőszeg that the unknown is like a dark forest. Yeah, we are afraid of it. Many people are born by afraid of it. Yeah, I developed the sense that I love it. I love the unknown. There's infinite mine, infinite richness. I can always mine new things, and it's better than mining gold. Sorry for the pun. Yes, myself is an unknown. Yes, but there is actually quite a bit of economic gain in unknown. Yeah? So if you read this article written by one of the former presidential advisors in the US, you will see that unknown can actually produce 20 to 60% economic gain related to investment on the long term, if you can geolock the profits. Like if you do the research in the US and then China realizes the profit, it's not so good. Yeah, but it is very important that fundamental science, not translational science, fundamental science is the most profitable thing known to humankind for thousands of years. Yeah, so unfortunately, it cannot be geologged. So we do the research here, somebody reaps the profit. Oh, but maybe somebody else does the research and Hungary can reap the profit, so you can turn it around. Why not? So it's also stochastic. You start many things, and most of them will fail. We should not punish the people who tried. We should reward them. Any place you know where it happened? Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley exists because they reward failure instead of punishing it. And that's why French youth is in London. The opposite. So, of course, science is unpredictable, so you can't predict. You can't ask somebody. And I heard that in some 5-year plan, people were reporting, we will make 532 discoveries next year. Laughable. Yeah, you can't predict. So, the moral of the story is invest in fundamental science, and then that is Columbia University. And I can tell you, I get continuous questions. Sabi, is there anything you can patent this week? Patents are pretty good. There had been times, when one patent brought in $200 million a year in income to the university. That university increased its endowment from $5 billion to $14 billion since I'm there. That means money in the bank. Why? IP income is notable, but there is one very important thing. The system, we all believe we understand universities. No. Each university is different. Our university is specializing raising leaders. Why? Because my job is that students get the best they can be, and they love the university for letting them to be the best they can be. And then, when they are old and rich, because we let them to be the best, they give us a lot of money. One example is, last year, we got $700 million from one family to make the life of students better. So it works. It works. We are partners for life. We are not a service industry. We are a family who continues to live for hundreds of years. And that is made possible by the endowment that we never spend. My salary is not coming from risky resources every day. My salary is coming from an embargoed part of the endowment producing income on the stock market. So how do they keep me researching, writing Q1 publications, being creative, being free? I teach 1 course per semester. I spend 15% of my time with teaching. The rest I have to create. And why do I create? Because I want to. Nobody tells me to create. Yeah? Our university has roughly 2% acceptance rate. We take the most motivated students. When they finish, the most motivated, again, roughly 2% don't select, go to grad school. Same don't select when they go to postdoc. Same don't select when they go to faculty. Then, when you reach tenure stage, they send a letter to dozens of people worldwide. Do you know this guy? Is she better than the top 10 we list here? If the answer is yes, then tenure comes. After this grueling process, you don't have to have a whip. People will just go because they are selected for self-motivation. That's one of the answers. Some interesting story about competitive funding as told by Ferenc's favorite article, Albert Szent-Györgyi. I really recommend you read this paper from 1972 because it just gets worse. Yeah? Can you get anything from European Union without competitive funding? Even your rose garden need competitive funding. Szent-Györgyi gives the answer. Yeah? However, what I want to read is research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. He is very, very wise. Yeah? So read this piece. It's still critically acclaimed. Not everybody likes it, but you know, not everybody likes Picasso. That makes it art. So next, I would like to have a trivia. You can't answer. So I will read it, and then you will tell me whether this is crazy and who wrote it. Yeah? He is the one who wrote it. We make ourselves no promises, but we cherish the hope that the unobstructed pursuit of useless knowledge, science, art, what we do here, will prove to have consequences in the future as in the past. Not for a moment, however, do we defend the Institute on that ground. It exists as a paradise for scholars who, like poets and musicians, have won the right to do so as they please and who accomplish most when unable to do so. Is this crazy? It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely, isn't it? And it's actually true. That person, okay. That person, Abraham Flexner, he was the founding director of Institute of Advanced Study in Princeton. He hired Einstein. He hired von Neumann. We have computers because of that quote there. So it's very, very deep. It's not imagination. This is what he funded. And in 1939, after he finished his tenure as the director, he wrote that paragraph. Yeah? Here is the paper, The Usefulness of Useless Knowledge. It's a fantastic writing. I recommend you all read it. I read it every time I'm upset. This is fantastic. And of course, von Neumann, really like the place. What von Neumann had, actually he was a child. He was a child in all his life. And he started everything with a beginner's mind. So I cherish working with students because they keep me up with the beginner's mind. So Zsuzsa is prolific, recruiting many students. This is one of our group picnics. We go out to the Great Hill in Central Park, and all of them are undergraduates. They are publishing first author Q1 papers, so they are productive. I don't do one thing. I don't tell them what to do. They tell me what they want to do. And then I can tell them whether I can help with that. Fantastic research collaboration, yeah? So, and you see that the usual 15% women in physics doesn't apply to our group. No, I was so optimistic and so happy. Let me get back to reality a little bit, yeah? And tell you some interesting things that happened to me, personal experiences, yeah? And I had to choose multiple varieties of the scream to describe how I felt. So first, from all of them are from different hyper-famous science managers, yeah? So I got an advice. You should not pay the theorist, I mean, with money. They will work for you for free. They will publish their ideas anyway, as they like to think. Money should go into the experiment, yeah? The boring part of it. I'm shivering from this, yeah? I'm totally shivering from this.
And you're an experimentalist.
Yes, I'm an experimentalist, but I'm still shivering from terror, because passion traps should not exist. This is a passion trap. Have you ever heard that expression? Anybody? Will you remember? Yeah, passion trap is when somebody doesn't get paid because they like to do it. Yeah? Life is full of passion traps. You know, von Neumann and Morgenstern, the founders of game theory, many Nobel Prize was given for their work. Von Neumann passed away, unfortunately. No, von Neumann was paid splendidly. Institute of Advanced Study paid him so much, he couldn't spend the money. He liked money, yeah? He broke his car all the time, he needed money. So passion traps, please don't make one. Please realize if you are in one. Second is money matters. Science is only an excuse, yeah? So you don't understand me that this big science project is not doing science. We are an observatory, we observe. So don't even think about the science this data enables. Isn't that stunning? I was sick after this. I really respected the person. So that means that we should not necessarily respect great people. Yeah? So everybody knows the person on the right side, John von Neumann, Neumann János. Yeah? Who is the person on the left? Anybody knows who is the person on the left? His wife. What's her name? Clara. Dan Clara, yeah, from Budapest. She established modern computer programming. She was the first programmer she pioneered Monte Carlo simulations, she kept Teller. Teller had a big ego. She kept Teller in bay. She ran the Monte Carlo simulations for the hydrogen bomb. That's why US could make a hydrogen bomb, because she did it. She was forgotten until 2014. Yeah? She was, sorry, I have to cry. She was the woman Martian. Yeah? Yeah, we should not forget that. Okay, the third thing is, you don't understand. I never understand anything. Yeah? In science, it doesn't matter who invented it or pioneered it. It only matters who is doing it now. So let's give the Nobel Prize to Apple. Yeah? Von Neumann did nothing for the computer, because he's not doing it right now. Yeah? Yeah? Let's have some big computer company there. Fortunately, it's not always that. Cutty got the prize. Yeah? So that's fantastic. But look out for who started it, who invented it, who pioneered it. There is no patent protection for science. But there are always people who pioneer things. Okay, back to happy land. Well, getting there takes time and generations, and decades thinking should be embraced. Companies need quarterly profits. Politicians need to elect it in every 4 or 5 years. Yeah? Science is being done for 20, 30 years. Yeah? 1944, the Nobel Prize was given for the basis of MRI. MRI showed up in hospitals in the late 90s. Science needs a lot of time. We have to provide stability and forward-looking thinking throughout science. So when we invented multi-messenger astronomy with Zsuzsa, in the first decade they called us crazy. In the second decade they tried to claim credit. Here is the history. But you always think 20 years, 30 years, 50 years in the future. Ferry and Jody does. Yeah? I hope 200 years in the future. We will see. That's a challenge for you. Actually, how to define a pioneering field? Why a field is pioneering? I came up with a very simple definition, tested it, and they published it. Yeah? So I think a pioneering field is very special because it has more questions than answers. Yeah? So whenever you pioneer, you must have many, many questions. So one day I was having 2 days to write a paper, and I couldn't do the research in 2 days, but I had many questions. So I wrote a paper, many questions. Every questions, there it is in the field. Yeah? And the only complaint I got from the referees, oh, you didn't include my question. So I included, and then it got published. So just to prove that there are some fundamental questions of the field. And then I asked them a few years later, and more questions are coming. So I think that's a pretty good definition. Yeah? And I did this before my boss got Nobel Prize. So the field is still pioneering because we didn't answer most of these questions yet, but we will. Okay, how much time I have? Because I have too many short stories. 5 minutes? Okay, So I will just...
And then you don't have time for questions and that.
5 more minutes and then 10 minutes for questions.
Okay, so I will be very quick. Instead of telling anecdotes, I will just put the question in your brain, the short story in your brain, and then you think about it. In my experience while diving, I know that the best always happens at the boundary. That's why I love iASK, because there are many wonderful, productive boundaries here, fields, unknowns, intellects, mindsets. You don't want to silo people in departments. You want to make them think together. Humanities, sciences. Freedom matters. Free people create good science and good art. And I just quote Kati. When somebody tried to make her do something that was not productive, her answer was, "You think I'm working for you? I'm here to advance science. I'm never, ever working for you." She dared. That's pretty good. I recommend you watch von Teller to admit von Neumann was more clever. That doesn't happen very often. This is a historic video. He actually admitted somebody is more clever.
He only told it at the end of his life. It's been big pain. I saw this video.
Yeah. Okay. This I really recommend. And if you want to learn about Dan Clara, there is a podcast, lostwomanofscience.org. A full season is about her. And for the researchers here, her exchange was in Hungarian with her husband. And they are Americans. There are many letters not read yet. Declassified, you can learn about her life, you can do science. That's an untapped gold mine, intellectual gold mine. And of course, dream big, but expect challenges. Whenever you collaborate, don't collaborate with people you don't have to. Everybody should pitch in something. The whole must be more than the sum of the parts. It's very, very important. Yeah? Today's mega collaborations, there are many people who don't do anything. Yeah? That's very dangerous. Embrace emerging computing. I know some institutes are humanities, but they can still use AI. Yeah? There are many things AI is good for. And everybody is thinking about the first few things. Yeah? I don't have a resource to do it, so why AI is not doing it? But I want to emphasize that I personally use AI on one way. AI is a teacher. AI is teaching me. And then I understand what it does, and then I do it. It helps me understand, helps me find patterns in data I don't understand other way. It doesn't do it instead of me. It helps me, it's a tool. It helps me recognize that is hard to recognize for humans. And that's a very powerful way to use it. And of course, many people believe that things are impossible, always try the impossible, and better stand on the shoulder of giants, and then tenets will be broken, because science is about breaking tenets. Here are just some slides where we broke tenets, what everybody believed are unbreakable. Yeah? Tenets are only unbreakable until you try to break them. Very important. You break them, you try to break them, and you succeed. In 10 minutes, I will not go into it. Yeah, it's actually, this is a patent. Doesn't look like that, but Columbia insisted they patented it within a week. That has 20 pages of theorems and proofs at the end of the paper. But the bottom line is we are better than the uncontested champion big time. And we make, say, sonar, radar much faster. Yeah, and we know why we are making sonar much faster. And I don't have to tell you why sonar is important. And of course, everybody believes quantum computers are only good for spying. No, quantum computers are good for science. So this is the graph of the first gravitational wave detection with a real quantum computer, IBMs. So if you are clever enough, you will find a way to do things other people are believing impossible. And this also makes sonar better. And this is the last topic. Yeah?
The thing is that there is a pianist who is waiting for us.
Okay, okay.
And we don't want to hurt his feeling.
Oh.
His name is Carl Binder, and
Okay,
he would not be very happy.
okay.
Okay?
I stop.
Think about it.
I stop, okay? So, broad or narrow, please use your experiment for good. And that's why we do biophysics worldwide, saving lives with biophysics worldwide. And short story, you apply your knowledge locally, you make an impact globally. That's science, yeah? That's iASK. And please help us clean up the Tisza River with Pet Kupa every year. Thank you very much for your patience.